Hello, everyone. My name is Jalen Jones, digital producer at WRAL. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like this video and subscribe. Listening on podcasts, make sure you rate us, review us. The community is what makes WRAL what it is, and we love to hear from you guys as well. Had a wonderful conversation with Ken Smith about Reverend Jesse Jackson, who has unfortunately died today. Today is February 17th. We're recording this around 10 o'clock. I want to give him some honor on his legacy. Jesse Jackson has a lot of North Carolina ties. He is an A&T Aggie. I know he's interacted. He was a protege of MLK. Also, shout out to the McKissick family here out there in Durham. They have a lot of connections there. I will explore, and I will honestly challenge anyone to Google the McKissick's relationship along with several prominent civil rights leaders. Hopefully you guys like this video. Like and subscribe and take a listen. At 84 years old, Reverend Jesse Jackson has unfortunately passed away, another civil rights leader that has been lost to this world. He was a protege of Reverend Martin Luther King. He has been hospitalized in recent months under observation for PSP. I'm here with another living legend, Ken Smith, here at WRAL. You have been covering a lot of civil rights movements, a lot of leaders, and you have learned a lot about Reverend Jesse Jackson over the years. Talk to me a little bit about what you have learned over the years through this influential figure, another civil rights leader lost throughout history.
I think it's so important to recognize his contributions to not just the civil rights movement, but just to the history of the United States in general. Mm-hmm. Because in interviewing local leaders like former longtime public servant Mickey Michaud, who knew Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. And who walked with him, you recognize all his foot soldiers through their eyes.
Yes.
And Reverend Jackson was a foot soldier of Dr. King.
Yes.
And history will let you know the impact his being associated with Dr. King, the impact his life had on people like me, because he ran for president for the first time in 1984. I just started my college career. Mm-hmm. As a young journalism student at the University of South Florida, in Tampa, Florida. There weren't very many people who looked like me on TV at the time. Yeah. And to see the Reverend Jackson out in front, pushing for inclusion of African Americans and just inclusion of marginalized people in general, it really was a source of inspiration for me, because I'll never forget the story that the one person who was working in Tampa, Florida, who looked like me, when he asked for more responsibilities and when he asked to anchor the news in Tampa, Florida, he was told in the mid-1980s, well, Tampa isn't ready for African-American male anchor in the chair. And I learned this with subsequent interviews that John Voight did with different publications after he left that station in Tampa. So I thought, this was a situation where, is there a place for me in journalism? Mm-hmm. And seeing the Reverend Jesse Jackson and seeing the strides that he made in running for president in 1984 and again in 1988, it really gave me the foundation, so to speak. It really inspired me to continue this journey of journalism, this career that has been really good to me.
He had two really electrifying runs for presidency in the 1980s, and he was kind of one of the first. He was a Democrat presidential nomination, and he stunned everybody because he was able to pull white voters at that time. Talk to me a little bit about being on the cusp of things. Like we talk about, he was a prominent aide in the 60s to Martin Luther King. Now in the 80s, he's stepping into his own and trying to run for president and blaze another path in a very I would say turbulent era that wasn't too long ago. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it really wasn't too long ago. Even though we're in 2026, when you think about the 1980s, what happened in the 1980s still continues to influence us today in terms of civil rights and the movement. I think when you look at what he did in the 1980s, he said in a recent interview that he really laid the groundwork for what was to come when President Obama ran for president.
Yes.
So you see over the course of his career, again, that foundation that he laid for people who look like me to be successful. Now, to be successful, you also have to put in the work yourself. You also have to take that inspiration and manifest it into real change. And I think for me, watching him do that year in, year out, and even when he became ill, he was still out there stomping for people or the marginalized people. And you can't help but be inspired by that. You can't help but take that and look at your own life and ask yourself, how am I making a difference? Like the Reverend Jesse Jackson, how am I making a difference not just in the Black community, but how am I making a difference in my community? Because I think the greatest lessons, I think, from Reverend Jesse Jackson is how can you reach for your brother? How can you reach for your sister? And when do you do that? Always and often.
Yes.
And that would be his answer. And I think when you think about his legacy, for me, that's what I take away. When do you reach for your brother? Always and often. When do you reach for your sister? Always and often. Because I'll never forget, one of my mentors said to me one time, always remember, today me, tomorrow you. So be mindful of the path that you're carving and be mindful of how you're treating people along that path. And I think when you look at all the accolades that's being poured out from President Trump to all the other leaders in our country today, showering tributes on Reverend Jesse Jackson, it tells you that he walked in so many different circles, and he continued to reach for the people around him and elevate the people around him. And I think that's our charge as we move forward after his death.
And I think to pick up a little bit about talking about blazing your own path and doing the work, I can imagine, because I wasn't born in the 60s, he did the work while serving when no one was looking, being that aide for MLK and so many countless others, and doing that work to prepare him for the 80s and his two presidential runs. And no, he may have lost those, but he inspired. And I can imagine, hey, if you tell him 20, 30 years from now, we'll have Barack Obama as a Black president, you're like, I'll do it all over again. Absolutely. So one of his signature phrases was keep hope alive. What does that mean when I say that to you?
You know, that word hope is something that I repeat religiously in any of my public appearances, whenever I speak to students, whenever I speak to a group. There's always the word hope in whatever I'm saying, because when you keep hope alive, sometimes that's all we have is hope. When all else is gone, if you keep hope alive, you can turn the corner, you can climb that hill, you can go around that corner. Whenever everything else is gone,
yes,
if you keep hope alive, there is a purpose. And that's what that phrase means to me, keeping hope alive. When you keep hope alive, you keep your purpose alive. And I think that's what he's been telling us all these years.
Yeah.
You know, when he first uttered that phrase, it was like, that's a familiar refrain, keep hope alive. But depending on what your experiences are, you know that at one point, all you had was hope.
All you had.
And that hope got you over that hill. That hope got you around that corner. And that's what he's been telling us all these years. Keep hope alive. When you keep hope alive, you keep your purpose alive.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one last thing before we close out, I will say he is some North Carolina connections. He is a Aggie. He graduated
He
from
did.
NCA&T, so I know the Aggie community is mourning a little bit right now, but also as we're all inspired by his legacy and living on. As an NCCU Eagle myself, I think I can partake in some of those remembrance and his iconic legacy within him. Is there any other last thoughts that you had?
I think I don't want us to ever forget our ancestors like the Reverend Jesse Jackson,
Absolutely.
because the lessons that he and so many others who have gone before him, Dr. King, more notably, we have to remember those lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And when we continue to remember those lessons, whatever challenges that we face, we can, in fact, keep hope alive. And when we do that, we also keep our purpose alive.
Hey, you're inspiring me a little bit. Like going through this, I feel a lot better, and I can imagine that's exactly how he would want us to feel when we remember his legacy and kind of hopefully carry on the torch a little bit as we continue on in a turbulent time in America, as a lot is going on, and we're all inspired by his legacy. Thank you so much for your time, Ken.
Happy to be here.
That is WRAL's living legend, Ken Smith. He's been around a lot. He's seen a lot, talked to a lot of people, has done a lot. And I really just always love his perspective on history and how Jesse Jackson has weaving through history and been a protege from MLK, ran for presidency, helped inspire a nation in a time that he wasn't supposed to on paper. So again, thank you so much, Ken Smith. If you're watching this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow for more content you're not going to get anywhere else.